Morning, campers. End of coffee time. How you doing? It's what day is it? Friday. Oh, do you know what it is? It's my daughter's 18th birthday today, which I'm very proud of. Beautiful memories, actually, because she was a home water birth and the midwives arrived, and I said, have I got enough time to do something? I wanted to be busy, so I baked some bread. So I made some bread, put it in the oven, but then she came out before the bread came out of the oven. So as a happy birthday to my daughter. So I'm very glad to make it this far. There's been times when you don't know if you're going to, especially in my case, but here I am. And it is the 27th of February, and I'm just doom scrolling down here. And you've got on X, right, which is really the barometer. X is the new 4chan. I mean, everybody's now a conspiracy theorist posting stuff. It's very interesting that the video I made yesterday was about coping with the trauma of the release of the Epstein files, and it got fairly low views. And it's interesting as well, because I'm looking at it's because you're shit, Mark. No, it's not that. It's extremely. I used to be an internet marketer before COVID for years, and so I understand what makes things go viral. I understand how to do search engine optimization. I understand what click-through rates are and engagement and conversion rates. I wrote a book about it in 2017, actually, and I built multiple businesses with all this knowledge. And there's a few things that are interesting. So, talking about the trauma of the Epstein files, fairly low views compared to some things. I mean, I could do a video, and I don't use these techniques ever with my channel. This is not a business for me. This is a mission, and you can tell that because I just had a week off YouTube. If it was a business, I'd be doing 5 videos a day. But I only do them when I'm called to, or when I've got hopefully something useful to say. And the lower views on something like trauma is because people are in trauma and they don't want to face it. And what I've been saying about talking to normies is that Mandelson's been arrested, Andrew's been arrested. And then that's it. They don't go any further. And, there's a lot of stuff on X at the moment talking about EMFs, mind control, MK Ultra, how, and a lot of awake people are like, how do the people not get it? How do they still not get it? 6 years later, they're still queuing up in the pharmacy for the jibby jab. And it's like, how is that possible? Well, it's all spiritual. And everything feels like, there's a lot of stuff here as well about, there was an interview with a guy, I can't remember his name, saying that there's an armada of something coming towards us in 2027. And, and then that sparks all the other stuff like Operation Bluebeam and, fake alien invasion and da-da-da. But this is like, we just had a film called The Age of Disclosure. We've got the film coming up with Spielberg, well, the fake Spielberg, called The Day of Disclosure, I think it is, or Disclosure Day. So we are being prepped for that kind of thing happening. But at the same time, you've got stuff about war, and then you've got people arguing about the arrest, saying it's a distraction. And then you've got a really great video I just watched with Sherry Blair, who's Tony Blair's wife, in case you don't know. And Tony Blair is one of the... And a lot of... The word demon is being used a lot in social media. Like, I know I've said this before, but it's just every third post is demons, demons, demons. And that's why me and Abby wrote the book Weapons of Mass Protection, Practical Tools for Spiritual Warfare, because the demonic realm is real. And the UFO stuff gets, commingled with this a lot. I've said before that I was a big fan of Stuart Wilde back in the day, and Stuart Wilde was the first author to be published by Hay House after Louise Hay had a smash hit with You Can Heal Yourself. Now that was a smash hit because she went on Oprah and then walked into an office where there was an accountant across the hallway called Reed Tracy, who basically came over and said, I can help you with this, run this business. And as a lot of you, the spiritual consumers of spiritual information, will know, the company Hay House got sold out to a Cabal publishing company, and wasn't exactly where we positioned where we would like them to be during the last 6 years. But Stuart Wilde was an amazing British man who just threw away his keys one day. Because when I say threw away his keys, I mean he had a Rolls Royce, he had an apartment in Chelsea, and he dropped his keys down the drain and wandered the earth at the age of 27, 28, I think, after he'd made millions in the jeans business. And then he proceeded for the next 40 years to talk about spirituality in a way that I really connected with. If you've never read his book, The Infinite Self, it's really worth having a look at, and you can get that online quite easily. And Stuart taught me a lot of things that I've carried forward with me. But one of the things that he would talk about is that after years and years and years of running ayahuasca retreats and writing all these books and doing all these talks, he was convinced that the UFOs were demons. Now, there's a lot of people, when I post stuff about UFOs, there's a lot of people who go, they're demons, That's not my experience. I've experienced UFOs very, intimately. I had a visitation from a triangular ship, not a TR-3B, a triangular ship that was rounded at the edges and was a burnt orange colour covered in black hieroglyphics that literally appeared right in front of me after I'd connected to a star, as instructed by somebody who sent me an email about 3 or 4 years ago. Now, this follows decades of seeing thousands and thousands and thousands of white lights behaving in ways that nothing that we know of aeronautically is not possible for them to do. Thousands of times over my whole life. In fact, the only reason I read that email that I got, and this was at a time when I was getting 5,000 emails a week, and it was very difficult to sift through them, was simply because there was a line in it saying, they know you look up every night. And that hit me because I have looked up every single night possible when it's, not been super cloudy or I've been in a bar or something. I have looked up every night, and I have seen that this ship that ever since I saw it, I was completely calm, because it was so hyper real that the only conclusion you can come to is, well, I already knew that the world is not what we think it is. I've known that my whole life, but to varying degrees. So seeing that ship put me in a state of very, calmness, which I think has been bestowed upon me because of the job that I've been asked to do in the last 6 years. So it was not demonic, what I saw. It was ancient, and it was interdimensional, no question, because of the way it disappeared. It was like, I was going to say it's like nothing I've ever seen before, but that's not true, because if you go on YouTube and type in Mark Attwood, the most powerful stone circle in the world, you'll see a video where I was in Arbor Low, which is a stone circle in Derbyshire, with a woman called Gillian England, and she took me there, and we had an incredible experience, which involved understanding that the ley lines in Arbor Low, which is a stone circle in Derbyshire, I don't know if I just said that, but that were blocked by the royal family. And I did post this on X, and I think the video had 100,000 views on X, because it resonates with a lot of people that there's more to the royal family than just the Epstein files or all their dodgy dealings. They've been energetically harvesting the world, and they're just part of a network. And above them is the Pindar, and you've got the Freemasons and everything else. And then again, you start talking about this stuff, and people go, well, the Freemasons are all evil, and then other people say, no, the Freemasons are actually the good guys. So it is very confusing. But from a spiritual point of view, all of these subjects that I've said that have all these different arguments around them, from a spiritual point of view, really all of those things are designed, because I think it is all designed, to teach you how to discern. And, it's like a training program that is making you understand that your pineal gland needs to be decalcified. You need to connect with your creator, and you need to follow that intuition and understand what is true and what isn't true. And, you know, even with this video, I'd say to you, the viewer, the same as I say to my kids pretty much every day, which has worked. I have 5 free-thinking children, which I'm very proud of. And part of that comes from me saying, question everything, including this, which makes them sometimes difficult to manage, but good. That's a good thing, because it means they're thinking, and they don't, you know, I don't dictate to my kids. I have discussions with them, you know, especially if they've done something considered wrong by somebody else. I'll say, well, was that wrong? Are you doing the best thing? I'm not saying I'm the best dad in the world, but you know, I think it's important that as parents, no, I shouldn't use the word parents because that means parent. Go and look up David Edelman's book, School, No Place for Children. If you don't know what that means, he's brilliant. He's been on my show a number of times as well. And he's doing incredible work, as are a lot of people. And coming back to that subject, you know, with the video getting the low views about the trauma, I was talking to Jackie Devoy overnight about the relatively low conversion rates of a book that we published called Murdered by the State. And I think it had like 25,000 views on this page, but only about 250 sales, even though it's free. You know, you can purchase this book for free. And Jackie's saying, well, it's because the sales page is too complicated. Well, it isn't, because I've used that kind of sales page for thousands of products over 20 years and for other books, and it works. And what I've said to Jackie is, it's because it's a subject people don't want to face. You know, and people love murder mystery and stuff, but this is real stuff. 42 real stories of people whose family members have been murdered by the state in hospitals, generally speaking. It's a big thing to face, this, and then trauma's a big thing to face, but we must face it. That's why we're going through this kind of collective dark night of the soul. You know, that's what's happening with humanity at the moment, and it's essential to go through this to come out the other side. So, what's my point? My point is that there is a point somewhere. We are. I'm just, as I'm thinking about what the point of the video is, I'm looking at the fact that Elon Musk is pushing Restore Britain, and that is a power. This is why X was taken over by the character of Elon Musk. It wasn't really Elon Musk, it was the military operation, right? Because Twitter was a captured operation. I've had a Twitter account since 2008 or 9 or 7, I can't remember exactly when. I used it briefly, and I didn't use it during COVID because it was censored so heavily. But when Twitter became X, I started using it again, and I got told to use it. That's why the message for the vaccinated has got 1.8 million views so far, because it's an amazing way to reach people. So the fact that Musk is pushing Restore Britain is very interesting, especially when you consider that one of the videos in the last 3 weeks from Restore Britain has an O that changes to a Q. And you go, no, Q's just a psyop. Is it? Yeah, well, it is a psyop. It's a positive psyop, because that's what I mean by X becoming 4chan and 8kun, because those were the channels through which Q originally posted 2017 to 2020, and a couple in 2022. And all that's been shifted to X, which is amazing, because it's like watching the same process that was going on in 2017 to 2020 on a bigger scale, because the stuff in the Epstein files that's been released so far is not as much as a lot of us knew, and I think I knew back then. And you know, one of the worst things to come out of one of the worst things to come out of anything in the last 10 years is Hillary Clinton. You know, she was apparently being questioned yesterday, and I watched a video of her talking afterwards, mentioning the gates of the Italian bread-based, tomato, cheese-based thing. You know, we have to talk in code still, because I would like this to go on YouTube at some point. That wasn't the original Hillary. Okay, and a lot of people watching it, what is she talking about? I mean, even yesterday I was telling somebody that, you know, that wasn't the original Biden, and they were looking at me like, really? And and this is an fairly awake person. And it's so obvious to a lot of us that these are actors with masks, they're CGI, they're clones, they're robots, they're all of those things, all of the above. So the movie's playing out where Clinton's, dismissing this, that, and the other, but it's highlighting her, and that's the thing. So you've got to understand that I personally did find the video called Frazzle Drip, and I watched 20 seconds of it, and it was so horrific. I don't know if the general public could cope with that video. I'm pretty sure that the Q operation knows it can't, which is why it's not officially released on any big channels and gets removed when it is put out there. But it's a real video, and it's horrendous beyond belief. And what is amazing about the Restore Britain thing is that although there's some horrific details in what's been released from the rape gang inquiry so far, it's horrific to the point where hopefully it will trigger a bigger awakening in more people. And I think that's happening energetically anyway. So we have been upgraded with the information that comes from the sun, with the Earth's energy frequencies, by meeting and connecting with other people that are awake. These things are triggered. So it's not so much about intel or the specific knowledge, the depth of the knowledge that is required for the whole of humanity to shake these reptilian interdimensional pieces of shit off our back. But that is the road we're going down, and I think it's important to stay calm in the middle of it and remember that everything that's happening is for our highest good. And I do honestly believe that billions more people would have been dead by now if this operation wasn't happening. And you've got to remember that Obama and Clinton were part of a 16-year plan to destroy America from the inside. And she didn't win in 2016, thank God. And I'll just leave on this story because this is when I first realized that there was a massive shift happening, and that we are infiltrated by non-humans, without question. And we're infiltrated by black magic, without question. That black magic is really a science. It's only called occult because the word occult means hidden. But once we see past the occult, then we can undo the spells that have been put upon us. And that's what is incumbent on everybody on this planet that wants to live the life we're supposed to live, not this enslaved life where we get fed off and poisoned our entire life and all our relatives die unnecessarily. It's because it's a farm at the moment, and we it's like Chicken Run. Go and watch Chicken Run. I can't fly, I'm a chicken. You can fly. You are a chicken, but you can fly, and you will escape the prison. We will escape this. There's no question in my mind, and it's a fight to the death, and that is something that you got to be prepared to do, but you can't be prepared to do that unless you know the scale of the problem. And I've had this argument with people for years. Why are you telling everybody about satanic ritual abuse, Mark? Well, because we need to know what the problem is before we evolve through it. That's why I don't think, I don't think we're being traumatized deliberately, because the true information would traumatize us. We're being drip-fed it, and we're being drip-fed it in such a way that we have to work it out for ourselves. And if you can't work it out for yourselves, you're lost. And if you're not angry at being in a society where the people that allegedly run the world eat our children, then you've got no soul. So, but I'm sure that's not you, because you're amazing. And I hope you have a beautiful day. I'm going to celebrate a birthday, and I'll see you later. God bless you.